Reciters. Wi-Fi point. Raj. Wi-Fi పోయిందమ్మా మీరు డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయింది నా పర్సనల్ నెట్వర్క్ తో కనెక్ట్ అయ్యాను ఇట్స్ ఓకే హాట్స్పాట్ వాళ్ళకి లింక్ షేర్ చేశాను నేను మీటింగ్ పడితే రైట్ రైట్ సో can you hear me Gautam and Rohit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine.
Yes, sir.
So there was a network issue from my end. I did not observe it. Okay. So here that is what we have. So there are different roles in the companies also. DBAs they are used to manage entire system, right? So I told you, right? So when you are having an employee management system, HR has to see some part of data. Project manager has to have some restrictions on it. As employee, you need to have some restrictions on it. So who are going to do all these things? There should be some person. There should be some one who is going to restrict, who is going to give some privileges and all. That is the job of what? DBAs. And the second type of users is called as what? Developers, end users. Means what they do what? They create the database. They create the data. They manipulate the data. They add, delete. All these things are done by what? Developers. So you'll be looking at developers role. We are not touching upon anything related to what? DBA. We'll see some commands related to DBA, not exactly the role of DBA and all, right? So if you want to learn, that is a different stream. DBAs become, they are database administrators. They have complete control over the database software and all, right? Fine. So now, if you technically talk about Oracle, so as I told you, every company follows almost all the same set of rules to design the databases, but they have the different architecture to store what? The different architectures to store these databases, to process these databases. Internal architecture of that software may be what? Internal architecture of that software may be different. So first we need to understand Oracle architecture. So Oracle is, when you install Oracle software, Oracle maintains database schemas. This you don't see in other databases. So when I say a schema is a collection of objects. Right, so I'll tell you what is the meaning of objects and all. A schema is a collection of objects, and a schema is owned by one owner. Right, a schema is owned by one owner. So there will be a owner. That owner owns a schema, and a schema is a collection of objects. 3 levels: owner, and schema, next level, and the collection of objects. 3 things you have, right? That is how the Oracle maintains the structure databases. But in other databases, it is different story, right? But most of the time, the schema name and the owner name both are same. So these are the schemas actually. So these are the schemas. System is one schema, and who owns this system schema? The owner is also called as what? Sys. Sys is the schema name as well as what? The one who is owning this schema, that name is also what? Sys. The same way, system, these are the schemas. There is a schema called as what? HR. Who is the owner for this HR? Who is the owner for this HR schema? HR himself. So the schema name and owner name will be what? Same. right? So these are the Oracle maintains the database, right? So under a schema means there is a owner, means there is a user, technically owner user. That user will have a schema. That schema will have what? Different objects. So she is the owner, she is the user.
Sir, yes, you're sharing the screen or?
No. Sorry.
Okay.
Right. So let's say you are 10 users. Here you are 10 users. For every user, we can create one account in Oracle. For every user, we can create one account in Oracle. So as a user, what will you have? You will have your own schema, and that schema contains some objects. Are these objects are different from other users' objects? Are these objects same as other users? They are different. So one user objects can access by what? Other users. Yesterday we have seen, right, in Unix restrictions. But the file one is created by one user cannot be, you can restrict it. The same way, almost these are all security features are taken by what? Unix operating systems only. They have taken the security features. Almost all the Unix operating system security is only followed most of the areas, right? So right, so that is what you have. So you are this 10 users. For 10 users, I can create 10 different accounts, and right. So most in Oracle, the owner name means username and schema name will be user. That HR user owns a schema called as HR. That schema contains what? Various objects. Now, the second thing to understand here is whenever you install a Oracle software, Oracle they provide you what? By default users. They provide you by default use, and they by default provides you some objects. So in order to create any user, you have by default user, and you have by default schema, and you have some objects. If you want to create a user, you can do that. We'll see. That is database job. Yeah, Gautam.
Sir, are you referring users or owners now?
User or owner almost same. So HR, I can say HR is a user or owner.
Okay. Okay. User in the sense, sir, I mean, just like you mean like to handle, I mean, to query the database or something like that, or because
See,
generally we have multiple
user
user
is nothing
accounts
but the one who
on the
has
same
who is
account.
going to correct. Right. So technically, here I am referring to user is nothing but the one who is going to interact with the database.
Okay.
You are the end user, right? So let's say if you have a Gmail application, you want to interact with the Gmail application, you need to be a user of that Gmail application, is it? Technically, owners are those who are part of what Gmail and all. So if you are a user,
correct, sir. But you said like every user has its own
but here we
schema.
don't. Correct. I'll tell you. Don't worry. Here you see that system is a user. He will have his own schema. Okay. HR is a user. He will have his own schema. I create a user. When I create a user, do I have any objects inside me? I just freshly created a user. Do I have anything associated with me? I have a schema, but that schema is empty. There are no objects. Understand? So in MySQL and all, this is a different concept. If you go to MySQL, you will have a user. That user will have a database, and a user can create multiple databases. In a database, you can have what? Multiple objects, again tables and all. But here, you don't have a concept called as what? A database. You create a user.
Okay.
That user will have what? One database. The user will get the HR user owns a HR schema. To compare this schema with MySQL, this is a database in MySQL. But this HR user cannot have multiple schemas.
Okay.
In one schema, you can have so many things. That is the structure of Oracle. So because you don't know MySQL, I don't want to compare it with MySQL. Just I want to tell you in the Oracle perspective itself, right? So I created a new user now. I created a new user. Then you have by default schema. And that schema is at this moment is empty. So you need to add objects to that schema. So what are those objects and all? We'll tell you. So there are two things as already we discussed in Unix. So these are secured. These all database management systems are secured. If you want to interact with any database management system, you must have authentications. Means you must be privileged. You must have some authentications to access the system. Means you must be assigned to the database. Authentications means what? You must be a user of the database so that only you can use it. Like files, you cannot directly open and start working with them. No. You must be a registered user. In simple words, I'm explaining. You must be a registered user. You must have authentication. Then only you can access what? Databases. That is the first level security, right? So log into Gmail. If you are authenticated to log into Gmail, then you can log in. The second level security comes in authorization. I already told this. What is the meaning of authorization? As a user, what exactly you can access from my system? So let's say a HR is logged in. HR can access so many things. Let's say you have a college, right? As a student, if you are accessing your college website, you may have limited access. Means you may access only limited functionalities. You are not given all the functionalities to be accessed. But the actual application may have so many functionalities, out of which you are authorized to access only few functionalities. When your faculty logs in, he may have more. He may access what? More functionalities. He is authorized to what? Access more functionalities. So these authentications and authorizations, if you have to do, that is done by DBAs. So when it comes to Oracle or any database software, first level is you must be authenticated user. So always there is a security provided. You cannot directly open like Word documents or Excel sheets. You cannot do that. All are SQL. That's what I'm saying. You will be confused. MySQL is also a RDBMS database. Oracle is also RDBMS. DB2 is also RDBMS. Any database software you must be authenticated. Right. So that means, so what are these HR and all? So these are the by default users you get with Oracle itself. So you need to create any account now. But if you want to create your own account by using which you want to interact with Oracle software, you can do that. You want to create your own account using which if you want to interact with the Oracle software, you can do that. But no need actually. You will get by default accounts with Oracle. So these are the by default accounts you may get. Again, version to version, these accounts may change. This is 11G we are talking about. You get these accounts with 11G. So that means you don't need to have your specific account to be created. You can use the existing accounts which are coming shifted with Oracle software. So one of the account is what? HR. So what this HR will have? HR will have, because this is a by default account they have created for you. You can use it for just learning purpose, right? This account shifted with Oracle software, you can log in with this HR user account, and this HR will have a schema. Under that schema, they have created some dummy database for you. Means some tables they have created. Then you can use their tables for testing purpose, means learning purpose. So you don't need to create any account now. We'll see how to create the account center. If I create account for you, then you are able to access you are able to access the database, but with limited set of authorizations. What you are able to access, what you are not able to access, that can be set, right? So here HR is the by default user. He is going to have a HR schema, right? So the schema name is HR as well as what? Username is also HR, right? Now what are the objects you have now under a user? So these are the objects you can have. You can have a tables. A table is nothing but the one which you have seen previously. Is a combination of what? Rows and columns. You also can create what? Indexes. You also can create what? Views. You also can create clusters. You also can create synonyms. They have different meaning in Oracle. Each one has a different meaning. Each one has a different usage. But the backbone for all of these is what? Tables. Right? So now HR user will have what? His own tables. Where these tables cannot be accessed by what? Other users. If someone grants the permission, then that other user can access it. Right? So a user is not a user. A schema is a combination of objects. Means what? Under a schema, you can have what? 1 to n tables. You can have what? 1 to n indexes. You can have what? 1 to n views. That is a different story. User to user, schema to schema. These objects may be differ. So as a owner of that schema, as a user of that schema, you have every right to what? Access all the objects of it. But some other user cannot access until you give the permission to him what to access that particular object, isn't it? So this is what you have. So what is a table? Technically in relational databases, tables are nothing but where you store the data in the form of what? Rows and columns. This is a backbone for any database software. But there are some drawbacks you have with means not the drawbacks, some areas tables are less performance, and to avoid that performance related issues, on top of tables we can create what? Indexes. On top of tables we create what? Indexes for just faster performance and all. Or on top of tables we create views. There are special scenarios we create what? Views, indexes, they are created on top of what? Tables, synonyms, and all these are created on top of tables. But in what scenarios we need a view? In what scenario we need a index? Let's say if I talk about index, this is not a new concept actually. This is a very common concept which you see in any books. Any book you refer, you will have what? Index. What is the importance of index in a book? Can't I publish a book without index? I can do that. Do I need a index for a book? We'll have a first pages are dedicated for index, right? Do I need index for a book? Can't I directly publish the book without indexes? I can publish. But what is the problem you have? Someone who is using your book, it becomes what? For you also, sometimes it becomes tedious. Which topic is in which page and all. So for which I need an index. So what is the advantage I'll have by adding an index to it? It's faster to go, reach to that page, accessing will be much faster. In the tables also, if a table is huge, going to that particular record becomes what? Tedious. So I can create an index so that that index directly takes me to what? That record. That is the concept actually. That is where this index and all are used. They are internally used with the table. So when your database grows and grows, searching the database, processing the database becomes what? It is a tedious job. So that is where we create index and that. So each object, these are all the objects. Tables are objects, index are object, performances and easy reading the data and all. For these reasons we'll create them. We'll talk about them later. So these are the various objects. Plus you have some other objects, and these objects are part of what? Schemas, and schema is owned by a user. That is how the Oracle architecture. This may not be the same for what? Other databases. Now we have some basic understanding of. So this is the database. Let's say this is my software. Let's say this is Oracle or whatever. Oracle software. Me to manage all my databases internally. Like this, you have different softwares. That's fine. So you take one more software called as MySQL. MySQL internal structure may be different, but the job of this software is also to what? To manage your databases. There also you'll have table. There also you'll have what? Same, but may not be the same object you'll have. They may have plus or more, like one or more different objects you may see there. Now this is fine. So I have a system software where I can store all my information. But the thing is, now we as a users, right? So let's say that there may be a number of users. There may be a number of users. This is software which is installed in my box. Now I'm a user. How am I going to interact with this software so that I can access this data? I'm a user. I need to interact with this software. Like there may be a number of users, right? There may be a number of users accessing this database. Like as I told you, HR user is accessing this database. Employee is accessing. Your manager is accessing. Your company CEO is accessing. All are connected to what? The same database. Let's say example. Now how they can access this? How they can access this? This is one more question. Because there are 10 users. They should know how to interact with this database and to access the data for information from this database. Do you think something is needed for accessing this? Authentications. Let's say everyone is authenticated. Authorizations. That's fine.
Permissions.
Oh, what is that? What is that approach I have so that I can? Let's say I want to see the data of all the employees. or let's say I want to see my own data. How I am going to ask this database? I can see array database, you modify this information which is there inside you. As a user, I need to instruct it, right? A database add this employee to this I need to pass some information to this database saying, hey, please you added this employee to this particular table. Or a database you add this batch information to this table. How I'm going to instruct this database? We need to we need to have a mail. And do you think so everyone should have a common approach to interact? He's instructing me, he's instructing. You have your own way of instructing this database. She has his own way of instructing the database. She has her own way of instructing the database. Will this database able to take all the instructions, understands it, everyone's instruction, and process it? So what do you think? What should be there?
One language.
All the users must give the instructions in the same way. Then it can understand it. Because it's not a human being which can understand. If someone comes to me and says in Chinese, can I understand it? If someone wants to talk to me, he can talk to me in the language which I know. Otherwise, it is not possible for me to understand. So this is software. It's a program. You have to instruct this program asking what? Hey, program, give me this information. But is the way, because there are a number of users can interact with this software, right? So all they can give the instructions in different formats, or there should be a format to be defined so that all users the same in way of instructing this database. What do you think? Same format, right? So because we all know English, we are communicating with English so that everyone can understand my whatever I am explaining, or I can understand whatever you are saying, because we know the same language. We speak the same language. The same way you need a common medium through which the users can interact with what? Database. So that database can understand and can reply or can process your request. So what is that common medium? That is the language we need, right? So for which we'll use a language called as SQL. SQL is a language. This is called a structured query language. So if any user wants to interact with this database software, they first need to learn what? SQL. Otherwise, the database cannot understand your instruction. That is what we are going to learn. Where we need to learn a language, there is SQL. As a human, I'm going to instruct the database using a language. This is the language we need to learn. Same like English. The databases understand SQL language only. If you want to speak to any RDBMS software, you will speak to RDBMS software using a language called as what? SQL, structured query language. Now my question is, just give me the answer for this question. Is this language is different from database to database? Because Oracle has given their own database software, right? Oracle software we say. IBM has given their own database software called as DB2. The same SQL I use as a user. Now I want to work with what? Oracle database software, as well as I want to work with what? DB2 software. So do I need to learn a different language to interact with these two different softwares? There's a common language which is used with any database language. But as I told you, they may have their own proprietary features. That features you need to understand. But most of the language is what? Common, which you can use to speak with what? Any RDBMS system coming from any company. If my company releases one database software, I need to follow some rules to design my database software. My database software should speak SQL. Then only I can call it as what? RDBMS software. So that the users can interact with my database using what? The same language. So this is what. So never say SQL. SQL is a language which helps you to talk to what? RDBMS softwares. And these RDBMS softwares are not same. They are different, coming from what? Different companies. But if you learn one SQL, I can guarantee that 70 to 80% you can talk to what? Any database. So I recommend you to practice with multiple databases. You install Oracle, you install what? MySQL, and you work with both. That's fine. Second question. So I need a language because I cannot speak to computer like this. I need to type the language technically. Where I need to type the language. I need to pass the instruction. Now I'm going to pass the instructions through what? A language. That language we call as what? SQL language. We are going to learn the language throughout this Oracle sessions. How this SQL language we need to learn. The same like when you started learning English, you need to learn from what? Alphabets, then words, and the same way we are going to learn it. It's a simple English anyway. Any language you have to start learning, like Telugu, Hindi, English, whatever you have learned in your real time, the same way we are going to focus. So first priority will be on language grammar, nothing but the syntax we say. You are more focusing on what? Syntaxes or grammars. If a grammar mistake is there, maybe some human can understand if there is small mistake in grammar, but a computer cannot understand. It exactly needs the same grammar which you have to supposed to talk. It cannot understand if you are misusing the grammar and all, right? So that is where your primary focus. The second thing is what I need as a user then. Here we are using a communication medium, like I'm just speaking and you are listening through your ears and all. There's a software. Where should I insert? Where should I type this query? Querying is nothing but asking something. Structured query language. These queries are structured. Using these queries, you are asking the database. Querying is nothing but asking something, right? You are asking something. Please do it for me. And whom you are asking to a database. But do I need to follow a standard? Yes, you have to follow a standard. While querying it, you have to follow a standard. There is a way, right? Second thing is, where should I write my query? Because I cannot speak like simple English. What you need some kind of interface. Yesterday you type some Unix commands. Where did you type the Unix commands? Is the Unix installed in your system? No, it's there somewhere in the network somewhere. But you are instructed to that Unix box through some medium. That is nothing but Unix command line. As a user, you need an interface where you type your query. Right? Same thing. Nothing is there. If you access the Gmail application, is the Gmail is installed in your laptop or is in your phone? Is the Gmail application running in your laptop? The application is not running. It's somewhere else there in the some system which is there in the US or somewhere. But you need a way to interact with that application, right? What is that way? They have provided a web interface. They're asking you to what? Give me the username, give me the password. When you give the username and password, it goes to what? Actual application. Everywhere you need an interface through which you can talk to what? A computer. Now this database vendors also gives us what? An interface through which you are going to talk to that computer. So that interface is not like the graphical one. There are different type of interfaces. When I talk about interfaces, you may have character user interface, you may have what? Graphical user interface, you may have some other interfaces, touch screens and all you have. So you will get different interfaces. So whenever you install a Oracle software, what they will give you? They give you an interface. By default, you get it, right? And that interface is called as SQL Plus. There are two, three ways you can interact with the Oracle. You may have a graphical way of interacting with, where you can do all the things with what? Mouse clicks and all. There are different interfaces to talk to this, right? So user one can use different interface. Like let's say, how are you interacting with the banks? You can interact with your mobile phone. There is a mobile phone interface is there. You can go to a ATM. You can interact with the bank. You can go to what? Online means what? Web interface through laptop. What is that? Net banking. There are different interfaces, but all these interfaces help you to interact with the same bank. Yes, no. You go to ATM for withdrawing the cash. You can do what? With net banking, you have a mobile app. You can directly walk into what? Bank cards. In the same way, but I'm taking you to what? Same bank, isn't it? In the same way, this is a database. I can interact this database with various different interfaces, but you should know which will give you one interface through which you can interact with it. But there are some third-party tools like Toad, through which also you can interact with these databases, right? So that is what we are going to do now. We are going to use an interface. What is that interface we are going to use? A simple command line, a black screen. Whatever the command you type in that a black screen, what happens? That command is sent to what? To the actual software, nothing but database management system, and it is executed on that management system. And whatever the results generated there, that gets displayed onto that command prompt. Right, so later we'll see other interfaces, graphical user interfaces. In the real time, no one uses what? Command prompt, because it is little tedious to use. The graphical user interfaces can automate lot of stuff for you. That we'll see in going forward, right? So did you understand? So what is SQL and what is RDBMS? And Oracle supports what? Network. Network means what? From your same like all these applications, right? How we are going to access your bank application? You need some network through which you are accessing. This Oracle also supports you to interact with the database through networks. Not only Oracle, all. So means Oracle software may be installed in my system. Can you interact from your system? There is no Oracle installed in your system. I have only the software installed in my system. Can you interact from your system into my system? You can do that. You can do that. That is, these are all network softwares. So in real-time companies, there won't be databases installed in every developer's laptop. They will be a centralized database, and every user connected to what? The database. Lot more things to be managed there anyway. So here also we can do that. But currently we are not going through that approach. I'll show you how to interact with the database which is centralized, so that other users can interact with. That we'll see later. Nothing to do from your end anyway. But currently in our lab, what are we practicing? The database will be there in your system, as well as you are the end user to accessing the database. We are not using any centralized, because you are installed the database in your laptop, right? So you are using the database which you have installed in your laptop. But going forward, it won't be like that. You will be given a client. What is a client mean here? Database is a server where all the information is stored. You will be given a client. Client means what? Through which you are going to interact with that database server. You don't have any database installed in your system. You will have only some interface, like yesterday's Unix, where we have web interface. We typed some commands, where these commands are executed actually in your system. Now these commands are executed on some online someone's system. We don't know what is that system technically. The same thing can be achieved in all these database systems, right? So that we see. So these are network and all. So this is network. The connections can be managed over the networks. Fine. So what is SQL? It's just what is the use of SQL? It is used as a user. It helps you to interact with what? Database server. But SQL, don't get confused between SQL and these database softwares. The language used to talk to what? Database servers. Again, there is some person who designed this language. There is some organization, some group. They have designed this, right? And the software supports that language, right? So this is what you have. Now this is what I have. This is a currently architecture. So this software may be in some different box. As a user, you may be sitting in some different box. Still, you can access what? The software which is there. But there are some rules. But currently, you are having the software in the same box. And as a user, your interface is also there in the same box, and you are interacting with it. But it can be network, right? So as a user, you need what? So now can you say me the steps here? As a user, if you want to access any database software, what is step 1 you have to do? What is step 2 you have to do? What is step 3 you have to do? As we discussed something about the database systems now, can you say me what is step 1 you have to do? Step 2 you have to do? What is step 3 you have to do?
You have to learn SQL language.
The software is installed. You are not going to download the SQL. You are going to download one of the RDBMS software. SQL is a language. RDBMS software like Oracle, or MySQL, or SQL Server, or what? DB2. If it is open source, you can download freely. You are not going to download SQL. SQL is a language. Remember, most of the freshers are confused here. It's a language to talk to what? That software. Java is a language. Java is, you have to download the Java software so that you can write the Java language, right? In the same way, if you want to speak SQL language, you need what software? RDBMS software, right? Fine. There is a one. So you are not going to download SQL. You are going to download one of the RDBMS software. Next, what you need? It is installed. Next, what you need? Right. There is a very important thing. As a user, as I told you, if you want to use these database systems, you must be authenticated. If you are not authenticated, you cannot access them. you must have a credentials to interact with it. There is a first level security. No database software you can directly access. You must have authentications to interact with the software. Once you have the authentications, then only you can do what? Start using the database. The first step will be always connecting to the database by giving your credentials. If you are not having the credentials, then definitely you cannot use databases. That is the reason why these are more secured. No one can access. They should know what are the credentials to interact with what databases. Then once you have started interacting, then the next is accessing the objects, creating the tables, adding the data to it, and all those stuff we have seen, right? We will be seeing. As I told you before, whenever you access the Oracle database, whenever you install the Oracle database, by default you got what? Oracle software has given you multiple users, and I'm not creating my own user. You have got all the users, whatever the users we have seen, like HR, system. But again, as I told you, they have some privileges. Privileges means what? Sys is a DBA. In that, whatever we got, these users, out of these users, every user has a different different usage. Sys and system, these two are DBAs. What they can do, they can control the entire database. HR is not a DBA. HR has limited privileges. Limited means what? You can do only certain operations. You cannot do all. So for us, as a developer, we need only HR. If you want to log in a system, that's fine. But what will be the difference between system and HR user? What will be the difference between system and HR user? Is a DBA, that's fine, but other differences, I told you before. System is one user through which I can interact with what? Database. HR is also a, system is also a clean start. These are all whatever listed there. They are ready for you get.
HR can only access some
Limited. So HR will have his own objects. System will have his own objects. System schema, HR schema. It has different objects. It has different objects. HR cannot access the objects of what? System cannot access the objects of what? HR. Maybe because system is a DBA, you can do that, but HR cannot do it, isn't it? Right? So we are trying to log in. So now say me, that's fine. So in my system, Oracle is installed. Now what next I need? Is a software which is installed. What next I need? I want to interact with it. That's correct. Where will you write it?
like interface.
I need an interface, right? So as I told you, when you install a Oracle software, you will get an interface that is called as SQL plus interface. This interface. Now, not only this, you may have a number of different interfaces, but this is the interface. Interface is nothing but what? This one helps me to interact with what? This is not the Oracle software. This is only interface. You type a query here, it sends the query to what? To the software. Software executes the query. It returns some results. That results gets displayed onto this editor. This is not the software. This is just an interface for you through which you can interact with that particular Oracle software. And the same SQL Plus cannot be. Can I use this interface with MySQL or DB2 kind of softwares? Can I use this interface with MySQL or DB2 softwares? This SQL command line. This interface is given. Yeah, they will have their own command lines. This works with only Oracle because it is shifted to interact with. You need to identify what is that interface for DB2. There may be graphical interface, there may be web interface, there may be what? Character interface. So, but we are practicing all the things through this. So technically it looks like this, okay? This is the end-to-end diagram. How are you going to interact with? So what is this? This one? This one, this entire box. This is your actual server where you have all your information is stored, right? This server can be in the same system or this server can be in remote system. That's not the intention. That's fine. It can be. But currently we don't have the servers in remote systems. You have the servers in your system. Now what is this? You are the end user. who want to interact with this server where your information is stored. But how I'm going to do this? I need an interface. This can be different interfaces. I'm saying command line, or it can be SQL developer. You have J developer, a lot more you have in the industry, right? So, but here we are using a SQL plus. This is the one. Now, when I type something here, what happens? This is called a command line interface. As Unix is a shell for you, but here it is called as SQL plus command line interface. Okay, CLI. Now, when I type something here, what happens? It will submit this to what? This server. The request is executed here, and the results will be sent back to this interface where you can see it. This is not a new concept, right? When you access your Gmails or Facebooks and all, what happens? What will you have in your mobile or laptop? Facebook. Is the Facebook application is there? Only the interface. When you do something, it goes to actual server, and you just result whatever the result generated, the response you see on your that window, means that browser. There's only interface. There nothing is there. It's special about that browser, right? So the time so they're very important. So if you want to try to interact with these interfaces, you must be connecting to them. To connect to them, you must be a authenticated user. You must be authenticated user. Then only you can connect. The time you start logging in, right? So once the connection is established, until the connection is closed, the time period we call as what? Session is nothing but a time period. Start time to what? End time. So inside the time period, how many times I can query the database? How many times I can query the database? You can query the database n number of times. There is no limitation. In a given time period, you can query the database n number of times. You can send what? N number of queries. Right? Can multiple users can connect to this database at the same time? Let's say this is centralized repository. Can multiple users can connect to this database at the same time? Yes, that it is possible. It is possible, but lot more things can happen. That is how these databases are designed, right? So again, there is restrictions. Lot more things has to be happened here to avoid lot more things, right? So this is technically we need. So if you have downloaded Oracle yesterday, you got this software, you got this interface also. So how can you open this interface? You just go to your Run tab, or just search with what? SQL plus. When you search with SQL plus, it will open, right? Command line gets open for you. Now the next thing, what do I need to do now? I need to connect to my database. Without credentials, you cannot access not only Oracle. Remember this. This is common to all RDBMS softwares. Now the command which can help you to connect to the database is what? Connect. Now which user? As I told you, there are by default users shifted for you with Oracle. I am going to use one of those users. If you want to create your own user, you can do that. But for creating a user, someone must have some privilege. Someone has to create a user. That means that guy also has to have an authorization to create user. HR cannot do that. That we'll see later. So connect, enter. It is prompting you. What is the username you want me so that I can log in? I give what? HR is asking for password. What is the password you want to give me? Is this a user created by me? Is the HR user created by me? No, this is a default you get with Oracle. So the same credentials you can use in your laptops also. You launch the SQL Plus. This is the interface for you where you can query Oracle database. And it has come up with a by default account called as HR. If you're asking for this HR for the first time, you get error message, I know. That is account is logged, something you get. No, you're not getting it. Then it's okay, you can proceed with it. So the command to connect to database is what? You need an interface. Throughout our learning, this database, we are going to use what? This SQL Plus. You should have a clear understanding about the architecture. Primary focus should be on architecture. What is the database? What is SQL? What is this command line? Most of the professors, they don't have any clarity about this. You should have a clarity what is exactly happening behind the scenes, right? So don't say SQL. So when you say, whenever you attend the interviews, don't say SQL. I know Oracle. SQL will be common, right? I have learned Oracle database software. Anyway, you talk to Oracle is, if you want to talk to Oracle, that there is a language called as what? SQL, right? Now, is it so the command to connect to Oracle database? Maybe this command. That's what I'm saying. These commands may not be same. If you want to connect to MySQL database, may not be not the connect is the command. Maybe you may use what different command there. But I think you are using Workbench. You don't have any. Did you have used any time you have used the command line of MySQL? There is a command line for MySQL also. Try it. No, don't use it. That is a graphical user interface. For MySQL also you'll get a command line. You search. That is there in your system. You try using a MySQL command line. For Oracle also I can show you a graphical user interface. When you install, you have a web access also. You can use that. So now what happened now? What can I say? It is a session started? Yes. Because my connection is established. Now I have connected to the database. What can I do now? Now this HR account has what now? It has a schema, but the schema name is also what? HR. Now that has some objects. Now would I know what objects are there and all? When I say objects, it can be a table, it can be an index, it can be a sequence, it can be a view, lot more. So there are some by default objects are already there, and the tables are there. How would I know what objects are there? I need to query. I need to type something asking database, hey database, give me what are the objects are there for this HR so that I can use. Now how would I write that query for which you are going to learn the language? How would I ask him? Now that language we are going to learn, and this language, the SQL which you are using is structured query language, okay? And this structured query language is divided into what? This is structured query language which can help you to talk to any RDBMS software, and it is further divided into 5 sub-languages. Right, so these are the very important things. You will get the questions in interview. Can you say me what are the DDL commands? Can you say me what are the DML commands? Right, so these are all part of what? SQL only. SQL is further divided into what? 5 different sets. Each set is responsible for processing specific type of requirement. So you see a language called as data definition language, DDL. What is this data definition? It has some commands. What are the commands it has? Create, alter, drop. So what is it DDL? Where exactly it is used? It is a part of SQL. Where exactly it is used? I gave you a requirement. What is the first thing you are going to do? I gave you a requirement to collect the data. What is the first thing you are going to do? You are going to create a structure. In pen and paper, you have taken pen, you have drawn the structure. But I need a structure to be created, right? So these are called as what? Definitions for your data. Isn't it? Can I say there is a definition for your data? Name, age. Is it the definition you are giving for all your data? Yes, no. There is a definition. By looking at the name, you understand what exactly the data is stored under what? Name. By looking at the age, you can understand what is exactly the data stored under what? Age. That is a definition. There is a definition given to what? All the data which is stored under which. So that is a language. What is this data definitions can be used? Definitions means these commands are used on top of what? Definition level, creating the table, not the data. Table creation, how many columns you want in a table. So while creating the table, you need data definition commands. You want to remove the table, you need this data definition command. These commands, they cannot help you to insert what? The data. I want to insert some student information. This is not the command which helps you to insert. There is a different language. What is that? Data manipulation language, we say. So data definitions are used to create your structures. You need a structure to be created first, or you need to modify the structure, or you need to delete the structure. So these commands help you to do what? These statements are help you to perform the structure level operations. Right? So if I compare this with files, you create a file, you can have some file level operations like making a file as readable, making a file as what? Writable, hiding the file. They are file level operations. Next you do what? Inserting the data into file. You have different operations while inserting, right? Copy, paste. So these commands are structure level operations. Means what? Creating the file, making file readable, kind of things. Deleting a file. So these things. If you want to insert the data, you have what? insert, delete the data and all, rows creation, modifying the rows and all. We have data manipulations. So they are called as what? Select, insert, update, delete, merge. These are very important things. These are only the things which you are going to learn. This the language has these keywords. And when you are speaking SQL language, you are going to speaking using these standard keywords. Now, if I want to read the data, now can you identify what is the command I should use for reading the data? Select. So whenever you want to read the data from your database, you are going to tell, give me the data by asking it language, what statement called as what? Select statement. I want to insert a data. Insert. I want to delete a row. Delete. I want to create a table. Creating a table. Listen to my question. Table is nothing but a structure, not the data. What is that command I should use? I want to delete a table. Deleting. Drop. This is the structure level commands, right? Creating a table. So what is the difference between drop and delete? Can anyone say? There is a drop, there is a delete. What is the difference? Drop is a command which is used, statement which is used on to table level. Means you are deleting the table. When I delete the table, data is also deleted. Yes. What is the delete? It is not table level, it is a data level. It deletes only the data. Table will be there. So you need to identify them. That is how these are segregated. Some statements operates at the tables level, not only tables, any objects. You can create a table, you can create a view, you can create an index. All creations done through what? This object level operations. Then data level operations. You have select, insert, update, delete, merge. Lot more you have. Data control. What is, can you guess what is this control are going to do for you? This is also I told you. What is the meaning of controlling the data? Right. So you have to restrict some users. You have only authorized to do this. You are not authorized to do this. How I am going to authorize them? I need to give some permissions, right? As a this user, you can only do these operations in my application. You are not allowed to do all the operations. As a faculty, you are allowed to do these things. As a student, you are allowed to do what? These many things. Right? So how I'm going to control, how I'm going to restrict that users to access everything of my application. That is where you have data control, by using which you can give some permissions. So that a HR can do what? So that a system can do what? So that, right, you can do what? I can put some restrictions on you. And that restrictions we can put using this data control language. We call them as what? Privileges, right? Then these are something interesting commands, very important statements here. We call them as transaction related. This is something related to, right, processing multiple queries at a time. We'll talk about them later. Transactions, right? So, and then you have session control statements, not needed, usually done by PLSQL programming and all. That's not needed for us. So technically, we are going to focus more on data definitions. Very important things as a beginner. You may ask in the interviews, can you say me what are data definition statements? You must remember them. 5 to 6 are there. It's not difficult to remember. Basically 4 operations you perform: creation, deletion, updation, means when I say updation, modifications, and reading. For each one you have a different command, right? So data manipulations, these are the very important. As a developer, we will be focusing more on this. How can I manipulate the data? It's inserting, deleting, and all. And then followed by DCL commands, data control language, where I can do what? Controlling the data. Means how can I authorize a particular user for accessing only specific right objects of your application, right? And then followed by what? Transaction related. These are something specific to when you perform what? Bunch of operations as one unit. They are called as transactions. And session control. 5 languages you have. SQL is split into what? 5 different languages. And these are the commands you have. So all you are going to learn about what? These simple 10 to 15 commands. That's it. Nothing much. All you are going to learn about 10 to 15 commands. That's it. Right? So if you want to perform the data level operations, you are going to perform, you are going to use what? Select, update, or whatever. You need to know that which command, which statement I have to use for which requirement, right? So this is what you have. Fine. Now anyway, now say me. Now I want to know. I've shown you some commands now. Now my requirement is I want to see all the objects which are there in under this HR because it's not created by me. It's already there. But I want to know what are there inside HR so that I can access. So which operation I have to type here? It's a select. I want to see something information about what HR, right? So I can write what select star whatever. I'll give you the syntax. You don't too much worry about the syntaxes. What I want to see now. Do I need to see the data of a table? I want to see all the objects of HR, right? There are some different table. I'll tell you what's the meaning of table. It's a different meaning you have. So it says what? But under the HR, you have these things. How many tables are there under HR? It says there are 7 tables, and it says there is one view called as a EMP details view. So how many objects are there in HR now? 8 objects. How many tables are there? 7. And you have what? One view. View is one object. But now a table contains what again? Rows and columns. We'll talk about how to perform the data manipulation, right? So this is what is the introduction about RDBMS, right? But I left you a lot more things like what is ER models, what is normalization. That's your job. Here they have created, see here, they have created for employees. Technically, if I explain this database, this is the key employees. Every employee belongs to what? A department, and departments are part of different locations. They are not managing all the data in the one table. You see there, different departments, HR departments information or some departments information, and the organization is split into what? Multiple locations. They are maintaining all the locations information in separate table. Why I need these many tables? Can't I do in single table? I can do. But better management of data between what? These tables. Right, so you don't need to create any table at this moment. We'll see tables creation later because we already have some tables. On these tables, we are going to perform what? Some data manipulations. First, we start with data manipulation queries. Then we see what? Data definition. How can you create your own structures? Because already structures are there. So just I am using these structures, and we'll see how to access the data from these tables. Now this is the table name. Now can you say how would I get the data from this table? Means how many rows are there? Select star. Select is the command, and we'll see how to write. From which table I want to see the data? Employees. So this is the query. Select. So what is the meaning of star? I'll tell you. From which table I want to see? Employees. That's it. It says there are 107 employees are there. Actually, this is not well formatted data. We can organize it. So there's a problem with this interface itself. It's not the problem with the database. The interface cannot fit all the data into row. It is huge size. I need to set my some conditions here so that I can see the data in well structured format, right? So this is simple. All you are going to learn about these 5 to 6 commands. These 5 to 6 commands, and here you have, that's it. But there are many combinations you can have here. How to use them? What are the still we need to dig more into what? How to use the select? How many ways I can select the data and all? We see that, right? So tomorrow we'll directly start with what? Lab directly. So what I'm going to give you is all my requirements. I'm not typing any programs. Same like Unix. I'll tell you what exactly I want to see from employees table. What I want to see. You are going to create a query on your own, and you are going to type it, and you are going to give me the results. Okay, that is what we are going to do. Followed by you'll have some assignments. Okay, I'll show you the syntaxes. Then you use the syntax and type the query. That is what is the plan, right? Do you have any questions? It's a lot more things to be discussed. I don't want to get into all those Oracle specific features and all. I don't want to discuss. Just you learn on your own. I'll share these documents and keep these documents in what? Google Classroom. You can use them. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Is it? I'll do that. Next. Fine. So how would you do? You have laptop? Yeah. Let me stop the broadcast first.